on this computer. Okay, so we are recording. So as I said before, today, this particular week, we're in week 6, by the way, for English 115. Week 6, believe it or not, we're a third of the way done with our class, with the semester. So 1/3 is down, 2/3 to go. We are going to start in earnest today, approaching the writing portion of our class. Now, as you know, you've always had some expectations with writing. We are certainly introducing some things like MLA, all those type things, but this is going to be your first major writing assignment. I'm going to introduce it today. We're going to talk about it. And we're going to go through the writing process of, things like brainstorming and then drafting and revising, okay, before you submit for your final grade. But there are 2 parts to this assignment. The first part of it is the critical thinking aspect. This is the analysis of it. This is a good skill for you to have. We're going to be doing a test analysis. And in the college arena, you want to get in the habit of doing that anyways. Every test, you should be analyzing your performance. What did you do well? What worked for you? What is not working for you? In testing, it is much more important that you understand why you scored the way you scored than the actual score itself. If you don't know why you're scoring well, then it's just kind of luck. If you don't know why you're scoring poorly, you don't know what to do to change it so that you can improve. You have to identify aspects. That's the analysis part that we're going to talk about today. So that's a critical thinking. And then the second part of that is you're going to be judged on or evaluated on your writing and your writing level. So there are particular elements you're going to be required to have within the criteria that you have to talk about. And one of the big things you are going to have to demonstrate in the final draft is MLA 8 document design. So you're going to have all of those elements within your essay. It's got to be a particular format. So what I want to do is I want to start by talking about the assignment first of what you're going to have in your writing and how to do that. And then the second portion of our time together, I'm going to focus on things like Microsoft Office Word and the elements and what the formatting and how you can set those things up, okay? So I'm going to share my screen. We're going to take a look at the Moodle page. And on our Moodle page, we are in week 6. So I got to find it here. And what I've also done, just so you know, in resources, I've given you videos specifically geared toward instructions for how to do things. So although I'm going to introduce things and kind of talk about them today, be aware in resources, I've also embedded videos that are deeper in detail if you need support. So essentially what you're going to do is you're going to write a test analysis draft. Okay? This is your draft. That means I want the elements, but it's not the final grading rubric, right? You're going to show me particular things in your draft. And in here, you're going to want to take a look at the test exam analysis essay instruction document, okay? And I want you to take a look at the grid sheet. So we're going to talk about the grid sheet first. The grid sheet, now this is my words, it's actually called, I think it's called Objective Exam Analysis Worksheet. Okay, great. For this particular item, oh, what the French toast. I think, hopefully I modified this correctly. What you're gonna do is, obviously at the top, you put in the information. So the course, you enable editing. So this is an interactive document. So English 115, whatever your section number is, I forget what it is. For this class, it's 3601. And then the date of the test. So the day of the test is whatever day you took it last week. So whatever that date was, I don't know when you did it. We'll say you took it on the 9th, okay? And then whatever your grade was here. If you don't know what your grade is, it tells you on Moodle, go look it up. Okay, so for lack of anything else, I'm just going to say 80%. Okay, so it's an interactive. So then what you do is you got to write the name of the test, Does anybody remember what the name of the test was? Yep. And then, of course, your name is going to go here. Okay. Now, what you have to do within the first column, this is the column you start in right here. And you're going to list any of the questions you got wrong. Just write the number of it. So, I don't know, if it's 80%, that means you got 4 questions wrong, right? Because they're each worth 5%, right? There were 20 questions. You got 4 wrong, it's 80%. So I'm just going to make something up, but whatever the ones you got wrong, that's what you list. So let's pretend the first one I got wrong was number 4. The next one I got wrong was 10. The third one I got wrong, I don't know, 15. And then we'll say the last one I got wrong was 16. Okay, those are the 4 questions I got wrong. Now, I don't know why the formatting's acting weird. Okay, you can see sometimes it's sideways, sometimes it's up and down. Don't worry about that kind of stuff. I'll be able to see it. It also doesn't matter. You don't have to go one right after the other. If you have white space in between, it's no big deal. Okay, that's not the important part of this. What you have to do then is you go back in that test and you take a look at the ones you got wrong, and you have to determine, you read the question, you look at the answer, you look at what you chose as the answer, and you make a decision, okay, why did I get that wrong? What is the reason I got that wrong? Here's a list of all the potential reasons. You're going to pick 1 or 2. Which are the primary reasons you feel you got it wrong? 1, at the most 2. And you do that for each question. So I'm going to look at question number 4. Okay, why do I think I got that one wrong? Based on looking at the question, looking at the answer, look what I chose. Then I'm going to go do the same thing for 10, do the same thing for 15, same thing for 16. Okay? Now, each of these represent categories. So the first category is lack of knowledge, the next one's English, the next one's exam items, and then the last one is skills. So exam panic and exam skills. So you look at each one of those, and so I want to explain them really quickly to you so you know what you're checking. In that first one where it says reading textbook, that means the information was not contained either in any of the readings you were assigned or the textbook. I can tell you point blank now, you should not check that for this test. Because I can guarantee every single question, there was information on it somewhere in the textbook or somewhere in my PowerPoint. Okay? But sometimes the information is not in the textbook. In other words, maybe it was just verbally given, right? The second one, inadequate notes. That means the information you took notes, you studied from, you didn't have that information in your notes. So hence, it wasn't in your notes. That's why you missed it. Application of knowledge. For that one, what you're looking at, these are the story problems. If there's any kind of a story problem or applying something, that's what you're checking there. Poor retention. That just simply means, yeah, I remember studying it, but I couldn't remember it at the time of the test. Okay, you just couldn't retain it. And then there's always other. So you'll notice in every single category, there's other. So if you choose other and it's related to lack of knowledge, you got to tell me what it is. You got to type what it is there. So you got to pop in there and type what it is. So maybe it's something I didn't list and it's something else relating to knowledge, then you type it in. It could be English skills. Maybe it was your comprehension. Reading comprehension means you did not understand what you read. Okay, that's what comprehension is. Reading speed. This could be you read it too fast or you read it too slow. How can you read too slow? Because you ran out of time. That would be one. Or you didn't finish reading the chapter. You ran out of time. It took you too long to read the chapter. Vocabulary, this means there's keywords you didn't understand or know. And then, of course, other, something related to English. Exam panic, decreased concentration. You could not concentrate when you were taking the exam. Maybe there's something going on. Maybe the kid was screaming in the background and you couldn't focus. I don't know. Maybe you took it when you were hungry. I don't know. It just means you could not concentrate, could not focus. Mental block. You could kind of see it, you knew you should know it, but it was like a white wall, you could not bring it back within the time, 2 hours that you were taking the test. Maybe you forgot to use exam techniques, or maybe you didn't use any of them. Maybe you didn't do the deep breathing. Maybe you didn't review things. Maybe you didn't use a positive attitude. Maybe you were not eliminating distractors. Okay, don't know. This is decisions you gotta make. And then of course other. Exam skills. You did not focus on what the question asked. So as you go back through and you look, you're like, oh, that's what it's asking. You didn't focus on what it was asking. You thought it was asking something else. Poor use of time. This could be too fast. It can be too slow. It could mean you ran out of time at the end of 2 hours and you didn't finish. It can also mean you just flew through that baby, went with first ones, and you were done super fast, that you didn't take the time to go double check your answers and just say, oh, did I fill everyone in? Do I feel comfortable with my answers? That kind of thing. Maybe you went back and you changed your answers. Maybe you had A, and then when you went back and reread it, you're like, no, I think it's going to be C. Couldn't decide A, C, you just changed your mind. And then sometimes it is careless or clerical error. So as you're going back and you're looking, you're like, oh, dang it, I meant to click on A, but I clicked C instead. Okay. And then of course, there's always math. On our test, there was no math involved. You should not check math at all. On this particular test, there was no math. So if you couldn't do the math, you're still good. Okay? But if there's another reason for something, I want you to list it. Why? What is the reason? So you got to go through and you check the items that are applicable for each one. So I want to just say on number 4, for lack of a better word, okay, I'm going to say it was poor retention. And then, you know what? I had a hard time with concentration there. My kid kept interrupting me. I don't know. I'm going to say in this one, I didn't have notes. And that was it. That was the only reason. 15, I'm going to say, okay, I didn't have notes on that one. And I didn't do my deep breathing either. And then on 16, I'm going to say, I didn't have notes on that one. And there are also words I didn't understand. Okay. So remember, you can't pick more than 2, but you don't have to pick 2. If you know there's just 1, then you can pick 1, okay? I did that for each question. Don't forget, if you pick other on anything, you got to type what it is over here. I want you to tell me what it is, okay? So then this is the exam. Then this is all you're going to do for the moment. Once you've identified this, you're identifying the ones you got wrong, and you're identifying why you got them wrong. Save the document. Save as, right? So this is called the grid sheet. After you have saved it, this is the grid sheet. Pretend I saved it and it's on my computer. Now what you need to do is the test exam analysis instructions. So this is the report, this is the essay you're going to be writing. And you're going to need to refer to the worksheet at some point in your essay. That's why you do the worksheet first. So for your exam analysis essay, you're going to be writing an introduction, 1, 2, 3 sections within the essay, and then a conclusion. So there are 5 parts to this essay. Introduction, Section 1, Section 2, Section 3, and conclusion. You with me so far? 5-paragraph essay. Okay. In the introduction, I want you talking about these things. I want you to tell me the purpose for analyzing your test. I want you to give me test information. Things like, what was the content of the test? Where's the location, the day, and the time? I also want you to talk about a thesis statement. Now, the thesis statement are elements that you are analyzing, things like your pre-reading process, review process, and test-taking behaviors. previewing process, study process, test-taking procedures. What a thesis statement does is it's basically a sentence telling the reader this is what I'm going to talk to you about. An example of a thesis statement would be, my test performance was to my satisfaction as I realized my previewing information process was doing very well. My study process worked for me, although it can be improved, and my test-taking procedures worked to get me the grade that I needed to get. So you have to name all three of them within your thesis, because you're telling the reader, I'm going to talk about these three things in my essay. Now, how you phrase that, that's up to you. You can phrase that a little bit differently. Obviously, I just randomly did it off the top of my head. But you're telling the reader what you're going to tell them in the essay. You don't have to give tons of detail on it. It's just a sentence stating. So your introduction has to include things like why you are writing what you're writing, and content, location, day, and time. So you could say something like, one of the reasons that I went back and analyzed my test was for the purpose of seeing what I did well and what areas I might need to improve on in the future. I took the test on making brain connections last Thursday at 5 p.m. I was at my house and I took it on the computer in the kitchen right after dinner time. Whatever. You see where I'm going there? So I'm giving information here, and then you lead into your thesis. So your thesis statement will be after you talk about those things. In my analysis of my test performance, I noticed that my previewing process was a little shaky, but my study process worked very well for me, and my test-taking process was very successful. Okay, you see where I'm going there? Does that give you a good idea of what I'm looking for in the introduction? Okay, excellent. In the next section, or the next paragraph, right, you are going to address all of the previewing processes. What process did you use when you read the selection? Demonstrate your understanding of interactive reading by describing strategies you use to support your understanding of concepts. What do I want you talking about in that section? Just give me layman's terms. What do you think I want to hear about? What are you analyzing?
How you study?
No, I am so glad you said that. Thank you, Samantha. That is section 2. How you studied is here.
Okay.
Previewing. What is previewing?
Skimming over the
Ding, ding, ding. What did you do before you started reading? And then in here, I want you to demonstrate, how did you interactively read? How did you actively engage with the reading? What did you do? Did you annotate? Did you turn headings into questions? Okay. What did you do in your previewing process? Did you count out the pages? Did you look and see how big it is? Did you look at the summary first? Did you look at the questions before you started reading? What did you do in the previewing and interactive active reading process? I want a paragraph about that. Here's the thing, if you didn't do anything, you should probably be honest. I don't want you to, to lie to me. The whole point is the analysis. What did you really do? If you didn't do any interactive reading, if you didn't do any previewing, I want you to tell me that. I didn't do any previewing. So then you're like, wow, I don't have a paragraph. So then you need to tell me what you should have engaged doing, right? Don't tell me something if you didn't do it. Okay, because it doesn't do any good. The purpose isn't to make me happy. The purpose is for you to analyze what worked and didn't work. So if you didn't do any previewing, feel free to admit that. Yeah, I didn't really do any previewing. Looking back, what I should have done is I should have maybe done this, this, or this. Does that make sense? Next, the next section, next paragraph. Study process. This is where you're talking about what did you do to study? What did you do to review the information? How did you determine what was important? Tell me, how much time did you spend reviewing? Did you spend too much on details? How was it different? How was the review process different from the reading process? Remember, I don't want to see in here. I went back and I reread the chapter. Why? Why should you not say that?
Because reading isn't
Ding, ding.
studying.
Reading is not studying. You read to understand. So if you're sitting there telling me you reread chapter 3 times, clearly you did not apply what you learned. This is, what did you do? What did you do with the information? Oh, I made flashcards of this. And then I went over it out loud with this person. Or, you know, I was on a treadmill and I said things out loud. Or, you know, whatever. What did you, the trick to the study process is what did you actively do with the information? I rewrote my notes in a different format. I did a mind map. I did an out, you know, whatever it is that you did. Now, again, if you didn't do any studying, don't tell me you did. See, I didn't have a study process. I looked at it and then I didn't look at it after I read the chapter. But then tell me what are a couple of things you should have maybe done that could have been part of the study process. Okay? Next section, test taking process. This section, that paragraph is dedicated while you were taking the test. This is during the time you are actively taking the test. Talk to me about behaviors that you did. This is where you look at that exam analysis grid sheet that we just talked through. Look to see if there's any patterns. Are you noticing any patterns? Ooh, I didn't do the test taking strategies. Or maybe you didn't have any notes, right? Look at that to see if you did really well. Maybe you did really well on the exam in multiple choice, but you did really poorly with true and false, okay?
So it'll be like external, internal distractions, things like that.
Absolutely. So during this process, maybe you didn't do any deep breathing. Maybe a kid interrupted you 4 times, whatever. But keep in mind, this is during that time you're online, okay? So you have to kind of remember what was going on there. And then I definitely want you to address, did you use test-taking behaviors? Remember at the beginning when we talked about them? Look all the questions over first before you start answering. How many of you started, you looked at the first question and then you chose an answer? That's not a good behavior. Maybe what you did, but as you look back, maybe that's part of the issue that you want to improve on, right? Finally, now you come to a conclusion. Your paragraph on your conclusion. What did you learn about yourself in this test? How effective was your reading process, your study process, and your test taking process? So you're giving me an evaluation on each one. Which strategies were useful to you and why? What did you find beneficial? What did you use? How? Were there patterns? Sometimes there's not a pattern to your errors, but sometimes there is. So look for a pattern. Make sure you talk to me about what your grade was. When I say what was your grade, you're going to give me your score at the top. I want to know if you know it's an A, a B, a C, a B minus, a B plus, whatever. So convert it to the letter grade in your conclusion. And then, were you satisfied with your score? If yes, tell me why you're satisfied. If no, tell me why you were not satisfied. Now, I wanna kind of talk about that a second in the fact that this is your conclusion, it's your opinion, there's no right or wrong answer as long as you can validate what you're saying. And what I go by that is because not everybody needs an A. In fact, I was talking with Preston about this a minute ago. If you're achieving what you wanted to achieve, you are successful, okay? And I always use the example, a couple of years back when I was working with students, and they wrote on this that they got a D. D as in dog. That was their letter grade on the test. And they were ecstatic. They were like very satisfied. They were it's like, this is good, I wanted it, right? The rationale was because they'd never passed a test before, ever. Tests are horrible for them. So for them to even have above a passing mark was great, because D is passing. I've also had students, they get one wrong and they're an A- and they're distraught. Oh, I wanted that perfect. Maybe they're trying to get in the nursing program, it's very competitive, that kind of thing. And for them, an A- was not satisfactory. They have to go for the A. They want to go for the A. So my point to you is you just got to validate. Are you satisfied? Why? If you're not satisfied, why not? And then I want you to tell me, what are you going to do differently next time? What are you going to do different? So unless you got 100%, there's always something you can do differently and improve on it, right? Look back, what can you improve? Even if you got 100%, think about the way you took it. Was it hard? Was it easy? Did it take you longer? Did it come easy for you? Did it not come easy for you? And I'll be honest with you, this is also a part where, you know, if you had to use the book in any way, shape, or form, that's probably not a good thing. So that might be something you want to address. You're like, oh, you know, I noticed because we had 2 hours, I ended up checking myself quite a bit in the book and looking things up. Even though you got 100%, that's something you want to work on improving, because you won't always have that big time limit. You know, the next test is not going to give you that much time. You're going to have to really know content, right? So be thinking forward about those kinds of things, okay? You got to be very specific. Tell me, what are you going to do differently next time? I don't want generic terms. If you give me something generic, you'll get docked. I don't want to hear I'll study more, I study harder. You know, that tells me nothing. You got to be very specific. Next time, I am going to do my note-taking in Cornell style notes, okay? And I am going to focus on turning my section numbers into, or section headings into questions. Or next time, I'm going to go through and do key vocabulary and turn them into flashcards. Okay, whatever. But pick one or two things that you think you're going to do next time differently, with the aim of either improving your score or getting easier at taking the test without looking as much in the book. So think about that. Think about that. So that's what you have to have in the content. That's what you're writing about, okay? In this particular writing assignment. Make sense so far?
Mm-hmm.
Go for it.
I'm just curious how to find the question we missed, because we have the grade and everything, but we
You
can't.
should be able to go right back into that test. Doesn't it let you review the test again?
This is how it gives me when I go on the test.
Okay, hang tight after class, and I'll have to take it off the screen. I'll go back in and see. Maybe I just have to click a setting that allows you to go back and look at the questions again.
Okay.
I should have given that to you initially of saying you're allowed to go back in after the test. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe I gotta close the test. Let me look. Remind me after class when I'm done with this part, and then I'll make sure. Okay. Before I go on to the writing requirement aspects, the English aspects of it, I want to make sure everybody's very comfortable with what the content is you're going to be writing about in your essay. And basically the format, the structure, the 5-paragraph format. You have 5 different paragraphs. Okay. So English-wise, what I'm looking for, these are the big things. These are part of the grading rubric. I give you the grading rubric. So if you want to look at what I'm going to be looking at and checking for in the essay, I provide that to you. Go through it. No problem. But this is kind of a summarization of it. Number one, I'm looking, did you follow the structure given in my guideline? Do you have that structure? And did you go in that order? Introductions first, next one, next. I want it in that order. I don't want it random. I want it in that order. I'm looking, are you specific in each section or paragraph? You're not just generalizing, you're actually giving me an example from it, you know, in real life, real time. If you're able, you need to use proper capitalization and punctuation. Use spell check and grammar check in the editing stage before you submit your final draft. Now, when you're drafting, you guys have probably not read it, but in English 103, we require a reading. It's called Anne Lamott is the author. Anne Lamott's the author, and it's called Shitty First Draft. That's the name of her article. Essentially, the drafting stage is you're just getting your thoughts on paper and getting what you need to get. That's okay if you have spelling errors and grammar errors those in that draft. Don't waste time then on those things. Get your ideas down, get your wording down, get the organization down. But when you submit your final draft for grading with a rubric, you're going to want to clean all that up. You're going to want spell check, grammar check, proper capitalization, and punctuation to the highest level you are capable of. Okay? And then you need to use Times New Roman style font, size 12. You need to use double spacing, 1-inch margins, MLA document format design. I'm going to demonstrate that with you today. The length, how long is it going to be? Approximately, it's going to be 2 pages. 5 paragraphs, 2 pages. The students get a little wigged out when they hear that. Keep in mind, double spacing, 1-inch margins, MLA format, that takes a lot of space. So 2 pages is actually not that much. And it's 5 paragraphs. Are you allowed to go over 2 pages? Yes, you are. If you have less than 2 pages, then you have not fully developed those paragraphs to the level they probably need to be, based on what I've told you. You do not need any sourcing for this. There's no citing, no MLA works cited page, no in-text citation, no quotes. None of that. This is a narrative, so you're allowed to use I. It is acceptable. You may use first person in your writing. So I is acceptable in your writing. Okay? Now, when I talk MLA formatting, I want to show you what I mean. Maybe. There it is. So here is what you should really be considering. Set up your document first. In your final draft, I am going to want to see MLA 8 format. What does that mean? It means these things. So you need a header and you need a page number. What do you need in the header besides your page number? Does anybody remember?
Last name.
Yep, your last name. I thought I saw a live hand there, but apparently not. He was stretching. Okay. So let's do insert. Oh, what the French toast. It's not letting me do page number.
Layout.
Say again.
I think it's in layout.
Layout. Okay, thank you. Nope.
It's one of them.
Wonder why it's not letting me. Normally what I would do is insert, okay, we're just gonna try header. Usually you gotta have page number first. All right, well, we'll play around with it. Let's see. I don't think so, but we'll look. No, it's usually insert. Okay, let's see if I can work around it. Normally it's not shaded out, so that's where I would start, but let's work around this. We're gonna insert a header, and it gives me some choices, you know, because it does. So let's do this. So we'll do blank. I want to hide my toolbar and it won't let me. What the French toast? Here we go. I think it's because I have this bar. Oh, yep, there we go. Okay, so there's my header. I'm actually going to tab all the way to the end. And I'm going to put my name. Now you need space and then a page number. But if you type your page number here right now, it won't be a running page number. And it still won't let me do my page number. I don't know what's going on with Microsoft Office Word with me today. So normally, just so you know, I'm going to talk you through it. I can't show you. I apologize. Normally, you are going to insert and you're going to do page number. And when you have page number, it's going to pull it up and then you choose page number all the way to the right-hand side and type your name in front of it. And then once you have your name in front of it, it'll do a running page number, which means the first page will be 1, second 2, it'll always do your last name and it'll be running. Samantha, did you have a question or concern?
is it not working because you're not like clicked into like the header section?
Maybe. So is that what you're talking about, edit header? So this is what I have right now. But if I put 1 here, I'm in the header section. This is where the header is.
It just popped up the page number when you were in that section. Like what am I trying to say?
I don't know.
It wasn't gray anymore when you were in that section. But then it went away.
Yeah, so now when I double click in the body, this is the body, but the header's there, I just can't see it. It just hides it from me.
That's not what I was.
Okay,
That's okay.
you want me to go back?
No. That's the body right there. So the page
Yep.
number I don't feel like would show up since you're in the body.
It won't,
until
you're
you
correct.
click on-
You're correct.
Okay.
So like if I go to print preview right now, you can see there's my header. It's there. I haven't typed anything in my body yet, but even though I can't see it on the body, it's there. Does that make sense? Okay. So now I'm in the body, and what we're going to do is the first 4 lines. Now the first 4 lines are within the body. They're not in the header. So the first 4 lines are your name, my name, the class name, and the date. And the date has to be funky. It has to be MLA format. So, I don't know, we'll pretend your name is Joe Smith, right? And then when you have, oh, sorry, I forgot. We want to, I'm going to back up. Before I do those first 4 lines, I want to set my margins. So it's going to be layout, margins. I want normal, 1 inch all the way around, 1 inch margins. I want orientation, it's portrait, which means regular up and down, okay? And then I want double spacing. So I'm not totally sure. Design maybe? Nope. Home maybe? Yep. So then I go over here, line and paragraph spacing. You choose 2.0. So I'm doing double spacing. So now I've set my computer up ready for, it's going to do double spacing, 1 inch margins all the way around, and I'm good to go. Go for it, Samantha.
We don't need 12-point font or anything. Like
Yes, we do. So let's set that too. Go you. Home. So what is it on now? It's on Calibri? Nope. I want Times New Roman style font.
in the header too.
And it's got to be size 12. Now the header's a little tricky. So let's go back into our header. See if it's going to let me. So the header does not automatically do it in Times New Roman. I forget what the default is. So you need to come over here, you highlight the header, and then you choose Times New Roman size 12. And then it changes it for you. Okay. So now, hopefully, I have not forgotten anything. So I have my double spacing. I have my 1-inch margins. I have Times New Roman style font, size 12. Okay. Now I want my first 4 lines. So we'll pretend your name is Joe Smith. Then it's my, oh, hello. And then I need my name. But when you do the instructor name, you give it the title. So does anybody know my title?
Professor.
Yep, professor. And then it's always my last name, Professor Shirey. Now, if you have someone that has a higher degree, like for example, we have several faculty that have earned doctorates and their official title is doctor. For example, Dr. DeRose, Dr. Dennis, Dr. Howell, right? So then you would not write professor, you would write doctor because that's their title. Not all teachers here are professors. Some are instructors. I don't know which ones are which. So, you know, your instructor would tell you, oh, my official title is instructor, okay? But mine is professor. All right. After that, we want the name of the class. For lack of anything else, I will allow you to do English 115. It is usually helpful if you have your CRN after it, although I'm not going to require it. This one is, I think, 3601. But if you don't have the section number on this, don't worry about it. And then the last thing is the date. Always use the date it's due, whatever the due date is. So for this particular one, believe it or not, the draft is going to be due on Sunday. But I think the final draft is not due till the 18th, if I remember correctly. No, that wouldn't be right. Let's look at a calendar. So your working draft is going to be due the 18th. I think your final draft is going to be due the 25th. So we're just going to go the date. Now, MLA always says day, space, month, space, year. So 25 October 2020. That is the correct format. And then after this, you need a title. You always need a title. And the title is not the name of the assignment. If you're going to use the name of the assignment, you got to have something with it. Say again.
Mine.
Yeah, I mean, give it a little bit more, okay? So the assignment is what? Does anybody know the name of it? Yeah, so let's do test taking analysis, okay, because that's what you're writing about. But then, okay, what is it for? Making brain connections. That's what you're doing the test analysis on. That would be an appropriate title. That would not be a problem. Your title needs to be centered though. Now you notice the first 4 lines, they're left aligned, but your title needs to be centered. So we're gonna highlight it. And then if you go up here, I'm not sure where it's at. I gotta find it, probably home. Yep. If you go up to these boxes here, this tells you left align, this is center, and that's right align. So it will automatically center it for me on the page. So now it's centered. And then I'm going to return. Oh, I'm still centered. I don't want the rest of my essay centered. I want it left align. So you just go back up there again, click left align, and put your cursor over to the left. And then you're going to start writing your introduction, right? First paragraph is your introduction and all that information. So don't forget, every new paragraph has to what?
Indent.
Yeah, you have to indent. The easiest way to do that is tab, 1 tab. It gets you in 5 spaces. And then, you know, type whatever voodoo you're going to type. Make sense? That in a nutshell is MLA 8 document design. Those are the things. Now, I am not sure on 365, but if you look at design, they might have an MLA design. I'm not totally sure. Someone told me they did. I have never used it, so I can't tell you. But someone was telling me that you can. You can also set up, now I've done this quite often, you can set up your own template and set it up and name it MLA, and that way all you gotta do is click on it and it'll do it for you every time. It'll be preset. But you can go talk with tech on how to do that. Oh, if you know how, Sam?
No, I was gonna ask if you click the save current theme, if that makes the,
If I'm using the theme I want. So like I'm gonna click on it now.
will that make it like every time? Or you can just go in and click that one?
I'm gonna put it on desktop. And for lack of anything else, let's go MLA, okay? But see, it's telling me office theme. I don't know if that's right or not. So I guess the only way to know, let's click and see if that worked. I don't want to save my document. Let's go into Microsoft Office Word and see if it pulls it up for me. So I'm not seeing theme. I was just looking here too if they had MLA. I don't see it. A blank document. Okay. File. Oh. Where was it? Design maybe? Theme. Browse for themes. Yep. So yeah, it looks like it's going to do it for you. Exactly what we did. So now in theory, it's going to set it up in MLA. So let's find out. Let's do Joe Smith. I'm going to check in a second. We'll do Professor Shirey. Yeah, see, you notice it looks like it's double spacing. I forgot. English 115, and then we'll go 25 October 2020. So it looks like, so let me look here, home. No, I did not save it. It's in Calibri still. You see that? So it did not save it. So whatever I did didn't do it right. So ignore that bit. But I showed you how to walk through it so you can set it up. I do know that there is a way to do it. I just don't know how to save it as your theme. But when I say MLA 8 document design, that's what I'm talking about. Header, last name, page number, first 4 lines on the left, title, double space, indent your paragraphs, 1-inch margins. That is MLA 8 document design. All right. I'm going to stop share. Maybe. Okay. I think I stopped share. Anything else you feel I need to go over to make you comfortable with what you need to do for your draft? So your goal is to have that draft uploaded by Sunday so that we can get you feedback on it. So let me go in. I guess I better share screen and take a look at our Moodle page. Show you where we're at. That's where you're going to upload right there. Now keep in mind when I'm looking at the draft, I'm not using the grading rubric. I'm looking at it, and as a general rule, if you have all elements of the draft, in other words, I see those 5 sections, you get full credit for a draft. The purpose of you submitting a draft is for me to give you feedback. It's like a conference, so I can talk to you about it. Say, hey, I noticed section 3 is really thin. You're going to want to add details about this and this. Or I'll say something like, hey, good attempt at MLA document design, but you're not there yet. Your header still needs a page number or whatever. And then that gives you time to do a consultation, to do a conference with me, visit me during my office hour, get help with it if you don't know how to fix it, before you submit for grading. So keep in mind, the draft is not the full grading. It's meant to be literally a draft. And I give you advice. Things you should address, or revised before you submit it for the final grade. That is the purpose of drafting. Good, bad, ugly? Yes, no, maybe.
Yeah.
All right. That is all I have for you today. I'm going to stop recording unless there's further questions.